What if the biggest difference between Europe and the rest of the world isn't about money, technology, or talent, but time? It's a bold question, but it gets to the heart of what makes Europe tick. While many global economies are laser-focused on the next quarter, the next fiscal year, Europe is often playing a much longer game. We're talking decades. This isn't just a cultural quirk. It has a fundamental strategy that shapes everything from towering wind turbines in the North Sea to the cobblestone pedestrian zones in city centers. This long-term vision is the hidden engine behind Europe's famously livable cities, its ambitious green transition, and its resilient social stability. So, why does Europe measure success in 10, 20, or even 30-year increments? And what can we all learn from this patient approach to progress? Stick around, because we're about to unravel the European mindset that prioritizes sustainability over quarterly stock reports. Let's start with a really visible example: infrastructure. Think about Europe's high-speed rail network, connecting Paris to Brussels in under 90 minutes or Berlin to Munich in 4 hours. Didn't happen overnight. These projects were the result of decades of planning, massive investment, and cross-border cooperation. The goal wasn't just to build a railway line for immediate profit. It was to create an integrated, sustainable transport system for future generations, reducing reliance on cars and short-haul flights. This is long-term thinking in action. The initial costs are enormous, and the return on investment can take decades to materialize. But the payoff isn't just financial. It's a more connected continent, a smaller carbon footprint, and a higher quality of life for millions of people. Now, contrast this with a short-term approach, where infrastructure projects are often judged by their immediate economic viability. You might end up widening a highway for quick congestion relief, only to find it gridlocked again in 5 years, a phenomenon known as induced demand. Europe's approach says, let's invest in a system that will serve us 50 years from now, even if it's more expensive and complex today. This philosophy extends to urban planning too. Many European cities are actively reclaiming streets from cars to create more space for people, pedestrian zones, bike lanes, and public parks. This is a long-term bet on health, community, and sustainability. It can be controversial at first, causing short-term disruption for drivers and businesses. But over time, these cities become more attractive, vibrant, and economically successful. The long-term vision wins. Next up, let's talk about the green transition. Europe has set some of the world's most ambitious climate goals, like the European Green Deal, which aims for climate neutrality by 2050. This isn't a 4-year plan. It's a 30-year roadmap that requires a complete overhaul of the energy, transport, and industrial sectors. Why would they commit to something so far in the future? Because they understand that tackling climate change requires sustained, long-term effort. It's about building a fundamentally different kind of economy, one that isn't dependent on finite resources. This means investing heavily in renewable energy sources like wind, solar, and hydropower, even when fossil fuels might be cheaper in the short term. It means creating regulations that push industries to innovate and become more efficient. For example, the emissions trading system puts a price on carbon, creating a long-term financial incentive for companies to decarbonize. This forward-thinking policy provides the certainty that businesses need to make large-scale investments in green technology. They know the rules of the game aren't going to change every election cycle. This stability is crucial. It is what allows a company to confidently build a multi-billion-dollar offshore wind farm that will operate for 25 to 30 years. They're not just thinking about next year's profits. They're building an energy system for the next generation. Of course, this long-term perspective isn't just about big infrastructure and climate policy. It's deeply embedded in Europe's social fabric, particularly in its welfare systems. Public health care and education are seen as long-term investments in the population. The logic is simple: a healthy, well-educated citizen is more productive, more innovative, and less of a burden on society in the long run. Providing universal access to healthcare isn't just a matter of social justice, it's an economic strategy. It prevents minor health issues from becoming chronic, costly emergencies, and ensures a healthier workforce. The same goes for education. Many European countries offer free or heavily subsidized university education, even for international students. Is this just generosity? Not entirely. It's a strategic investment in human capital. By attracting and developing talent, these countries are building a foundation for future innovation and economic growth. The student who gets a degree today might be the entrepreneur who starts a successful company in 10 years or the scientist who makes a breakthrough in 20. This is the definition of planting a tree under whose shade you may never sit. It's a societal commitment to the future, understanding that the benefits will unfold over decades, not months. So, where does this long-term mindset come from? Part of it is historical. Many European nations have had to rebuild from scratch after devastating wars, an experience that teaches you the importance of planning for stability and resilience. Political systems also play a role. The structure of the European Union itself encourages long-term, consensus-based decision-making. Policies are often developed over many years, involving negotiations between 27 member states. While this can sometimes feel slow and bureaucratic, it also ensures that the final decisions are robust, well-considered, and built to last. They aren't easily overturned by the whims of a single, short-lived government. This creates a predictable environment for both citizens and businesses. When you know that the commitment to renewable energy or public transport is a 30-year plan, you can make life decisions and business investments with a degree of confidence. This stability is a powerful, though often invisible, economic asset. It lowers risk and encourages the kind of long-term investment that builds real, sustainable wealth. But what about the downsides? This approach isn't perfect. The focus on long-term consensus can sometimes stifle rapid innovation and make it difficult to react quickly to sudden crises. Europe can sometimes be seen as slow-moving compared to the more dynamic, fast-paced economies in other parts of the world. The move fast and break things philosophy is not exactly a European motto. There is a constant tension between long-term stability and short-term agility. However, the argument is that short-term thinking carries its own significant cost. A relentless focus on quarterly earnings can lead companies to cut corners on research and development, employee training, and environmental standards, all things that undermine long-term value. It can lead governments to prioritize popular but unsustainable tax cuts over crucial investments in infrastructure or education. Over time, these small, short-sighted decisions can accumulate, leading to crumbling infrastructure, a less skilled workforce, and greater social inequality. In the long run, playing this short game can be incredibly expensive. So, what's the key takeaway for other countries, or even for us as individuals? The European model shows us the immense power of expanding our time horizons. It teaches us that the most resilient and prosperous societies are those that invest in their future. It's about recognizing that true success isn't just about the next quarter's results, but about building systems that are sustainable, equitable, and durable for decades to come. Whether you're thinking about investing, working, or even living in Europe, understanding this long-term perspective is crucial. It explains why things are the way they are, from the train you ride to work, to the health care you receive, to the clean air you breathe in the city park. It's the quiet, patient strategy that has shaped a continent. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this perspective on Europe interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into how the world works. What are your thoughts on long-term versus short-term planning? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next one.